My name is Rusty and I'm going to take you through my sketchbook. I use it to train structure, form, perspective, and all that kinds of stuff that matters when you're trying to improve. You are not going to see polished art here, you're going to see a lot of mistakes and the real stuff behind the scene. So I will walk you through some of my pages and I will show you how this kind of sketching builds everything else I do. So this is the sketchbook. It's a small size that easily fits in my pocket, and I use it everywhere I go. Coffee store or anytime when I'm like waiting for something, I just pull out the sketchbook out of my pocket and I just draw and practice all the time. Of course, I customize the sketchbook with stickers, for example, right? Or I draw on them, stuff like that. Just like a little bit of my personal touch, right? Very first page is filled with some notes, what to keep in mind, like when I draw from imagination, for example, or just overall keywords that I like to go back to and read and always remind myself what to keep in mind. As I said a few moments ago, this is not going to be polished, fluffed ArtStation art. This is the raw mistakes. Here, here's a sketch of like a monster from imagination where I try to come up with a little bit of storytelling. One of the very useful tips is when you try to draw a monster or any character from imagination, good trick is to catch them in their daily activity. Like in this case, it was just a monster, and then I was thinking like, what it can be doing during a day, right? And because it's a monster with a big teeth, it probably needs to eat. And because I was studying goat, I just have came up with a little story of how this monster having a goat for lunch. More stuff from imagination. I love to draw boars and wild boars and all kinds of pigs with tusks. It's just something that I really enjoy. Dwarfs. Every great sketchbook should have some sort of dwarfs, right? More boars. Another board that is sketching a fish. A little bit of storytelling again. I love to draw zombies, all kinds of zombies. It's fun to draw something that can look in so many different ways, right? But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Fish. Like, for example, here you can try see like an ugly sketchbook page. Just trying to practice some form, and I don't really know what I was like doing here. Maybe I just started something and then like it didn't turn out. So now I just try to fill out the page with some sort of practice, not to waste the paper. Monster. Kind of very easy, quick drawing of something I had in my head. That's it, simple as that. Birds. Sometimes I like to play with form and turn it in a different angles, some foreshortening, just another way how to practice. Here you can see some primitives practice, right? 3D forms. It's kind of this kind of stuff you can draw like all the time, every day. max, like from imagination. I really like to draw robo parts and combine zombies with robots or mechanical parts. Another ugly sketchbook page. I'm trying to come up with a solution for rendering when it comes to drawing, and all the time I render in a different way. Sometimes it doesn't work out. That's okay. It's a learning process. And here you can see I was probably tired because these lines are very rough. So overall readability is just not there. Some head turnaround from imagination, which is always very challenging. Get familiar with the anatomy. The never-ending story. This is interesting. I was on a trip and I had shrimp for lunch. Interesting thing was that they brought me a plate, and there was a lot of shrimp, the full body shrimp. So I was observing the shrimp with my fork at least like 20 minutes on a plate before I actually started to eat, because it was just kind of fascinating for me to closely observe form and structure of a shrimp. More shrimp. Here I try to do some undead robot stuff from imagination. Kind of didn't work out. That's okay. Here more primitives. Practice all the time. Try to beat it in my head. More like sort of robot parts. This is kind of interesting because here I'm trying to always come up with some sort of like a interesting forms, like just to break down the silhouette of the boxes and add or remove small, big, medium shapes. Here's actually the use of it. This is basically like the parts, and then when I draw from imagination, I just come up with the sci-fi forms that looks like armors, and just always trying to come up with something interesting. So that's the actual application of this sort of like practice. Here I try to practice clean rendering, just try to focus on the lines, but it's nothing specific, just practice. More kind of forms that would make eye more pleased, the eye of the viewer more pleased. Birds, drawing of I don't even know what. Sometimes like when I do this stuff, I have something in my head, and then I realize there is just not enough visual library about the topic that I try to draw, which is very common. It's good to do this because through these mistakes I know that I should be studying something in order to get the information in my head and then draw it from imagination. In this case it was some sort of like a monster body, torso. This page is pretty interesting because I also try to see some visual references from, like, for example, punk magazines, and then I just try to apply it on my drawings. Here's more pages from imagination. I just try to simplify my dog, looking at him. Ape. I love to draw apes. More apes. Different angles. Always great exercise. Very challenging. No pencils, no grids. Just strictly think about the camera angle and what would form do in that perspective, right? So when I do something like this, I always try to come up with the ideas or subjects that I am familiar with. In this case, it was like a bird, like a herons or emus, or flamingos or emus that I've been drawing before. Here I had an idea of come up with a creature that would be sort of like a hydra with a multiple heads. Here I try to experiment with markers and blocking out and filling up the black shapes. Another monkey from imagination. More fish. Fish are always fun to draw. Try to distribute these. I always try to like come up with some sort of imaginative pattern when I draw from imagination, and kind of try to like distribute the detail somehow that it would be interesting to look at. It's a very important thing, the balance of individual elements. I never want to over cluster the drawing. Here's the drawing from imagination of a fish that is sort of like dissected, and zombies in a street. Demons always like welcomed in my sketchbook. That's it. Few more pages to fill. These are all practice pages that actually helps improve drawing. No finishing pieces, it's actually about control. That's what Sketchbook is for. Do not fall into a trap of pretty Instagram posts or ArtStation portfolio pieces. It's all staged with only one goal, and that's to catch your attention. Every artist you admire, every concept artist in your favorite studio, at some point in their career had sketchbook like this, multiple sketchbooks like this. They just didn't show it. Let me know what kind of pages do you have in your sketchbook, and I will be looking forward to see you next time.